If you're able to just every day tell yourself 3 things what you're grateful for, be it in your life, be it in our city, be it in Hong Kong. I think cultivating that positive growth mindset, I think it's very key. Hi, I'm Kevin Lau, and I was born in Hong Kong. When I was 6 years old, my family had immigrated to Toronto, Canada, and that was where I received my primary school education. Thereafter, our family actually came back to Hong Kong when I was 13. And here, that is where I received my secondary education, as well as my tertiary education, where I studied for my medical degree at the University of Hong Kong. And thereafter, I chose to specialize in radiology. So I'm now qualified also as a specialist in radiology in Hong Kong, as well as in the UK. So I also have a degree in Masters of Public Health, as well as a Masters in Public Administration. So when I was in high school, towards year 12, year 13, to be honest, I've always been somebody who's gone with the flow, if I could use that term. At the time, I was pursuing different types of degrees. When I was growing up, actually, a side dream that I had always had was to be a pilot. But at the time when I was growing up, actually pilots had to have 20/20 vision. So at that time I didn't qualify to be a pilot, but that's always sort of been a small dream of mine when I was growing up. How I then pursued to decide on medicine was when I was in between the summer of year 12 and year 13. I had the opportunity to attach at one of the hospitals in Hong Kong. It was actually Queen Mary Hospital. And it was at the renal dialysis unit, where I got to know a lot of doctors, a lot of patients, and I grew to really appreciate medicine, that it's really a combination of science and art, where on one hand we obviously rely on evidence-based facts, evidence-based medicine, on looking at different metrics and data, and using that to prescribe what is needed and to help the patient. But at the same time, in how we interact with patients, especially on the patient communication, that's really an art. It's an art of dealing with people, I would say. So I think that really drew my heart towards being a medical doctor. And that was how I began my journey as a medical doctor. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share it's the verse that our company believes that God's called us to do for our company. And it's really a combination of a few things. Trinity Medical, as a group, we believe that really healing for one's health. In fact, our vision is actually healthier people, a better world. And what does that mean by healthier people? According to WHO, that's really 3 elements. It's about the physical, emotional, and social dimensions. So to put it into perspective, it's, for example, a patient who has a certain disease and needs a drug. It's not merely just about prescribing a pill, but it's also about the emotional and social well-being. The emotional part, I think we all understand that depression and emotional stressors are common issues of our times today. So how we incorporate all 3 elements into a healthier well-being is something that our group is always aspiring to help improve. We really want to do more for emotional well-being. And that's not necessarily just within the group, but it's also working with partners in Hong Kong. For example, NGOs, governments, schools, and corporates, where we can come together to address this issue. 2 years ago, actually, we had the opportunity in one of my roles with the government where we were able to address common emotional stress for women in Hong Kong. First, I think I've just been very blessed with opportunities to serve. A personal story of mine is that I think in 2009, I was actually in a near-death accident. So for me, that was quite a pivotal moment. In fact, that was a moment which really made me reflect on the meaning of life and also the purpose of life and on the calling of my life. It was actually then that I recommitted my life to Christ. And also on that journey, I just really was reminded a few things that I learned from high school. In fact, I was reminded of a phrase that one of my headmasters had told me, is that with greater blessings, or with greater that we receive, the greater the responsibility is to others. And I think I've been a very fortunate person in that just through my upbringing, through my education, I'm very indebted to all my mentors and teachers over the years. And I really feel that that in itself is an obligation and responsibility to give back. And over the years, I think there's been opportunities for me to serve in different capacities. And I view it as opportunities, and as well as, more importantly, an honor to serve. Be it not just in public service, but also in my profession, in the commercial world, and also in social welfare in the NGO world. I think as long as there's an opportunity for us to help those that are less fortunate and those in need, I really view that as an honor and opportunity where we are, at least for me, I feel that I'm called to do that. I don't know if I have a lot of fans on my commentary, but I'm very flattered and honored to have opportunities to be able to share different viewpoints. I think that with the unique background that I have as a professional, as somebody who was born in Hong Kong, who also has had experience in Canada, in UK and US, and I'm also a business owner, I'm also a husband, I'm also a father of 4 children. And Hong Kong is my home, you know, and with that I really view what is the best for my children, what is the best for the future of my home. And I think these 2 questions are constantly resonating in my head. I think there are opportunities for Hong Kong and for our city at this time, and I hope that through different readers and through their feedback to me, and also through their interaction with me, that we're able to sharpen, iron sharpens iron, I always believe in that we're able to all constructively come together to build the city, to build our home together for the future. I'm actually very excited about the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong. It marks a pivotal landmark, in my opinion, for our Hong Kong's history, because it's been 25 years since the handover. And as somebody who was born in the 80s, was in Hong Kong for the handover, and is in Hong Kong today, I've just seen a lot of changes. I've also seen, definitely there have been challenging times, but I also see that there are a lot of new opportunities. And I really view that the future of Hong Kong is very bright. And there are a lot of opportunities. I do think that in the last few years there have been a number of incidents which I think, you know, some people may be dampened with their confidence in our city. But to be honest, I often think that with challenges, it only makes us stronger for the future. I use a common analogy is that a lot of times, you know, for us to jump higher, what must we do? We must bow down low first before we can jump high. And I think with what's happened in the last few years, and also if I quote another example of what happened in 2003 and SARS, and also with the global financial crisis, I think we can all recall in recent times that those were challenging times for Hong Kong. But we've always bounced back. We've always bounced back to be more resilient, more united. And I vividly remember actually SARS. It was something that was very close to my heart because it affected a lot of our medical doctors. And unfortunately, we also had some doctors that had passed away because of SARS. But it brought the community a lot closer. And I think where we are today, it's a very pivotal point. I see more unity that will be fostered in the coming years. I see that there are a lot of new opportunities for Hong Kong in its unique role. I think especially on July 1st when President Xi came in person to Hong Kong to celebrate its 25th anniversary. So I really think that President Xi and his presence coming on July 1st, it's a staunch support of the central government to Hong Kong, as well as the sentiment of our motherland and the people to Hong Kong. And in the last 6 months, I think you can see that during especially a fifth wave of COVID, when it was a very challenging time for Hong Kong, we had a number of mainland doctors, mainland health professionals, that at our most challenging time, they came to Hong Kong to support our healthcare system. And more importantly, they supported the Hong Kong people in providing necessary support that was needed, very much needed, at our hospitals, at our elderly homes. And that was a very important gap that we bridged. Otherwise, I think our death rates would have been much higher. I think with that, I also like to supplement that. I think with the new opportunities of the Greater Bay, with RCEP, and also with the reassurance with the international community that Hong Kong remains to be using common law, and also with its unique advantages under one country, two systems, there are huge opportunities for our financial sector, for our insurance sector, for our medical sector. And these are opportunities I think that are uniquely placed in Hong Kong. And I think it goes back to whether or not we've had opportunities to explore the Chinese dream for normal Hong Kong people. So it goes back to what do we identify as unique to Hong Kong? What is our history and our roots of Hong Kong? I think for us to be able to answer that question, even for ourselves as an individual, if we were to be asked, what is your dream as a person? You must go back to your own upbringing, your own history as a person, your own education, your own work experiences. So it's only by visiting and knowing our own history of our city, of our country, can we gather people to understand what is the Chinese dream and what is the Chinese dream for Hong Kong. And I think that requires a lot of communication, a lot of help from our media friends, and also different outlets on what that looks like and how to explore that. I think as personally, what I believe as the Chinese dream is that I think in the last few years with the national security law and also with the new election reform, as in my background, in my opinion, I think as a business owner, I definitely see a huge advantage. It has returned Hong Kong from chaos to stability. And I think for business owners, and I'm sure I speak for nearly all our business owners in Hong Kong, having stability is so key to running any business. And if the businesses are not having a stable environment, then it is impossible also for companies to provide stable livelihood for the normal people. And having, breadwinners of our city having stable income is also cornerstone to their stability as a family. So I really see that it has given Hong Kong a new leaf. We have moved into a new season. I also think that in the last few years, since the enactment of NSL and also with the electoral reform, we see that there's now more discussion of what Hong Kong's dream is, or what is Hong Kong democracy. I think in the past, the definition of democracy has been quite narrow for some Hong Kong people. It's been quite only narrow to the Western definition. And I think if you pragmatically look at how the current Western democratic system has evolved, just in my opinion and in my background, I think, with any government, their first primary duty should be the livelihoods of its people. Whether or not they are having a better life, they are having a better family life, work life, marriage life. And with these common denominators, I would argue to say that, in the US, in where some, or even that they would claim as being the most democratic country in the world, they're experiencing one of the most severe polarization of their society. And you can see that unity, dialogue between the polarizing parties is increasingly becoming more difficult. You have people that are attacking the Capitol Hill. You have inflation at its 40 years high. These are all affecting the common livelihood of people, because it means that how would they, on their current salaries, pay for just day-to-day bills? How do they even drive to work with skyrocketing gas prices? How do they provide food and meals on the table if grocery prices are at an all-time high? These are actual difficulties that commoners are facing in the US and in the UK. So I'd argue to say that in comparison, if you look at Hong Kong, if you look at in our motherland, our government systems have allowed us to contain, I'm not saying we don't have those issues, but to contain more of those issues and to always try to see what we can do for the common people of our communities and of our home. Coming out of COVID, we can see that a number of our delegations, our president has gone overseas to showcase where our country is today. A much more stronger, much more resilient, economically the strongest powerhouse of the world. And also at the same time being able to bring peace to the region and to speak peace into certain very challenging global issues. This really brings into very unique opportunities with one country, two systems. I think in the last 25 years, one country, two systems, or OCTS as we call it, sometimes it's been, I think to some, a bit of a too abstract of a concept. I think now is the season where we need to understand what are the actual pragmatic implications, what does the execution actually mean, and in terms of how does it benefit commoners. And in that token, I'll give a few examples. One is, for example, in the medical sector. We've seen that with the Greater Bay policies, especially Greater Bay development, that there's now a policy which allows for medicines and devices that are licensed in Hong Kong to now be used by hospitals in mainland cities of Greater Bay which have Hong Kong investors or Hong Kong shareholders. That to me is a huge opportunity, not only for the medical sector, but for the commercial sector and also in the integration of the two areas, because it means that certain new drugs that we are able to access in Hong Kong, there are now institutions in the mainland, especially in the Greater Bay cities, that they can also get access to. So this is a huge game changer, and it's also a huge opportunity under one country, two systems, and under the Greater Bay development. Another area I'd like to also highlight is under one country, two systems, actually under a basic law, Article 95 talks about how we are meant to have areas of the two regions in their legal systems to be more aligned. I don't know if we realize this, but under this same Article 95, we've been pushing, the government has been advocating for new legislation as to what that actually benefits common people. And actually earlier this year, in February, under this Article 95, a new legislation which was for divorce and marriage, a new ordinance was enacted. In summary, what this ordinance allows for is that if somebody was to apply for a divorce, be it in Hong Kong or in mainland, that process and jurisdiction and that recognition of that certificate and status could be recognized by both parties. And using that as a common example, obviously nobody wants to see anybody get divorced. But at the same time, we all know that divorce is a very painful process, and we want that process to be smooth and shortened. That is what a commoner would want. But because of the unique advantage of one country, two systems, we have this unique opportunity that if one was to, let's say, have a divorce in mainland or in Hong Kong, that cross-border, we could recognize that and shorten the process and alleviate the pain. And this is only made possible because of the one country, two systems. this is not possible with any other regions or countries around the world, because no other place has this unique system of one country, two systems. I understand that youngsters of our time are having a challenging time. I understand that they see that with globalization, opportunities for upward mobility are seemingly reduced. As somebody who I think has gone through, challenging times of Hong Kong, personally, I've also had different challenges in my life. I think regardless of what that is, we must remember to have that resilience and that gratitude. If you're able to just every day tell yourself 3 things what you're grateful for, be it in your life, be it in our city, be it in Hong Kong. I think cultivating that positive growth mindset, I think is very key. I personally look back as when I've had some of my most challenging times as the time where it's shaped me the most. And that is my hope and desire for young people today, is that I understand it is very challenging. Globally, it's challenging. Hong Kong is challenging. It's a unique time, but at the same time, it could be such a unique opportunity for you to cultivate that growth mindset and to grow in your own identity. Because difficult, challenging times don't always come. There will always be a brighter day. And sometimes when it is a brighter day, your ability to self-reflect and to develop your own identity is sometimes not as strong or lacking. So I know this is a challenging time, but I really encourage our younger generations to use this time wisely. But its opportunities are only available to those that are prepared. And I think for one to be prepared, you need to be in tune with yourself first and to have that growth mindset, to know that in all times, in all situations, one will always be able to rise and grow. Thank you.